Welcome back to this next block of your Petals course. This short video outlines the second and final practical task B, which is the design of a scheme of work. This is a 1-week block of study. Armitage et al. In 2001 defined a scheme of work to be a skeleton plan which sequentially outlines the teaching of a topic. And for practical task B, you're going to need to put together your own scheme of work which covers a topic of your choice from your subject specialist area. The scheme of work should cover a minimum of 6 one-hour sessions for your chosen topic. Now that we've heard Armitage et al.'s definition of a scheme of work, let's look at what it actually means in practice. Imagine that you've been delivering a block of study to learners and you've done this several times. Your boss has now asked you to pass on the delivery of this block of study to another experienced lecturer. The scheme of work is the document that you'd give to them which will guide them through exactly what they need to do to deliver the block of study in exactly the way that you have planned. We'll look at exactly what goes into a scheme of work in terms of the technical content in a short while, but I'd like to begin by looking at the outcomes that go into a scheme of work. If you look at the Moodle block for this block of study, you'll see that underneath my input video there's a link to Smart Outcomes for Your Scheme of Work from Bloom/Petty. This is a piece adapted from Geoffrey Petty's book Teaching Today, which summarises Bloom's taxonomy of cognitive outcomes. Use this when you're putting together the outcomes that will go into your scheme of work. The reason for this is if I said to you, do you understand how to use a spreadsheet? You could say yes. Then you seem to have met my outcome, understand how to use a spreadsheet, but I'm not entirely sure that you do fully understand the topic. If I said to you, please describe and list the types of cells that are used in a spreadsheet and explain how I could use each one in practice, then I have outcomes which are measurable and I can assess to see whether they have been met by my learners. Now we've ensured that our outcomes are going to be smart for the scheme of work, it's time to look at the rest of the detail that goes into the document itself. You'll see that below the Bloom-Petty document I've put up 2 further documents which will help you here. The first is an exemplar scheme of work for a Petals course, very much like the one you're studying now. Take time to have a look at this document, see what it contains and also how it's phrased. If you take a close look at the exemplar Petals scheme of work, you'll see at the top it has some general descriptions of the course of study. Who is the teacher, what the course or qualification is, the duration of the programme, who the group is, and how many sessions and the times of the session where appropriate. Underneath that are the course aims. This is just a general description in 1 or 2 sentences of what the lecturer is aiming to do during this course. Keep this description general, as if you were describing the purpose of the course in a couple of sentences to an intelligent friend. Underneath that you'll see there is the detail of the scheme of work, and that's split up into 4 columns. The leftmost column contains the dates or week numbers where appropriate of the sessions. In the second from left column are the objectives or learning outcomes. You should state these in terms of what the learner will be able to do. So for example, my learners in session 1 will be able to describe the roles and responsibilities of the professional teacher. As I mentioned before, refer to the Petty-Bloom document when you're writing your learning outcomes, and you will then use those to ensure that they're smart. In the third column, there's a list of activities and resources. This lists what the learners will be doing and the resources that you will bring to the session in order to help them. This can consist of whole group discussions, small group work, lecturer explanation or exposition as it's often called, and it also lists the resources needed, such as learning style questionnaires, flip charts and handouts. In the rightmost column we're describing the assessment activities. Here you'll give a list of how your learning outcomes will be assessed. Will it be via Q&A, observation of learners' practice, completed handouts, quizzes, or perhaps indeed a final exam? The assessment activities being used should be noted in this rightmost column. You'll also see that after week 6, underneath the table, there is space for any comments that you feel necessary. If as a teacher you've already delivered this scheme of work, you can use this space to evaluate the delivery and to make any notes that you think will be important for someone who's picking up your scheme of work to deliver it themselves. If you take a look at the blank template I've provided, you'll see that it is a blank version which is exactly the same as the exemplar scheme of work for the Petals course that we looked at earlier. Use this electronic document by downloading and saving a copy to complete for your scheme of work for Practical Task B.